Okay, here we go.
Okay.
All right, this is Joel Thornton from Georgia. He's a lawyer and he's also a missionary, and he is spreading the God's work and doing good. And tell me about your experiences in Germany.
I went to Germany in the summer of 1980 as a missionary with a college ministry. We were starting a church on the University of Munich's campus, and we had about probably 20 young people, college-age people, that went out on campus every day, sat down, had one-on-one talks with people, shared the gospel. We'd preach in the park, hand out literature downtown, trying to start a church. Spent 9 weeks there in the summer, 6 days a week, 10, 12 hours a day. Had one convert the whole summer, and he was from Turkey. Not a single German, the hardest people I've ever met in my life. I ended up going up to Oxford, England for a week to visit my brother who was a missionary up there, and talked to one guy about the gospel, and he accepted the Lord.
Wow.
The only person I talked to, and he's like, well, will you pray with me? And I'm like, I was so unused to that. I'm like, I'm not sure what to pray, because nobody in Germany asked that. And so we started a church there that survived for probably 10 or 15 years. That ultimately the pastor there moved up to Aachen and then to Cologne, and had a very thriving church for a long time. In fact, at one point it was the largest American charismatic church in all of Europe.
Oh, wow. What was it called?
It was called the Church of Cologne.
The Church of Cloth?
The Church of Cologne, Germany.
Oh, Cologne?
Yeah. And they had outreach to the poor, did an incredible job. The German government attacked them and ultimately destroyed the church.
Oh, that's terrible.
So it's not there anymore.
That's so sad.
It was, but it was this church was there from 1980 through 2010, 2015, something like that. So it had a pretty good run.
Yeah.
It was very influential. They set up they had a lot of outreach to the poor.
Oh, that's cool.
Because the pastor's wife was very adamant on helping the poor, and then she had a heart condition, and she died under the pressure of the attack from the federal government.
Oh, that's so sad.
Declared them a dangerous sect in Germany.
Oh my goodness.
This was at the time when the Europeans were trying to stop the Scientologists from making headway in Europe.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And so they were labeling everybody that was different a dangerous cult or sect. And they put them on a parliamentary list that they had that they never released publicly. This church was on there. The Der Spiegel, I think it was Der Spiegel, which is basically the German version of Time magazine, Newsweek, did a big article about how they were a dangerous cult, and just attacked them publicly and tried to destroy them, took their tax exempt status.
Wow.
And she died in the midst of that, and so they created all these houses where they would minister to the poor, because they had evidence in Germany that the poor don't travel more than a kilometer from where they sleep on any given day. They live in a very confined area. They don't move. They're not mobile at all, which is really weird, because the Europeans are very mobile people. Yeah. Because their train system and their bus system and all of that is
they're
very
kind of
advanced.
like a forgotten entity.
Yeah, and so they would set up these houses where they would offer them a meal every day for like €1, and it would be a 4-course meal with dessert and a hot drink, and really nice meals. I ate there several times. They had a thrift shop that they would sell off stuff really cheaply to them, so that they could have things and do everything they could to help them. And in fact, they got so well known that the government started working with them, even in the midst of this fight going on with the national government. The city government worked with the church for years, and so that came out of the church we tried to start in Munich that I never saw. Yeah. By the time when I left, there was one convert, like I said, and he was from Turkey. And so there were no Germans, so there was no church there, although they were meeting. But they were meeting with Americans. And of course, Americans in Europe are suspect when they're starting churches. I know I worked in Strasbourg, France for a year.
What'd you do there?
I headed up the European Center for Law and Justice, which is a sister organization of the American Center for Law and Justice with Jay Sekulow. And it was funny because one summer I came home, and the French guy that worked in our office came to call me and said, "Hey, all my friends want to know if you work for the CIA." They just and it's really funny, because when you're in Europe like that as an American, they think you're like a spy for the CIA.
Oh, that's funny.
And I couldn't figure out why all these French people were treating us weirdly.
Yeah, and like then, how so?
Well, just they would be kind of hands off, a little bit nervous when you're around, kind of very surfacey and just chattering, but not really engaging you.
Yeah.
And then I find out later it's because they thought I was a CIA agent. And I'm like, are you kidding? We're a religious organization. The CIA wouldn't touch us.
Yeah.
But it's the European mentality.
I actually have a friend that was in the CIA.
I have a couple of friends now that are in the CIA. They're very interesting people. And
What?
I have pastors in America that still go, yeah, but I still am not convinced you're not in the CIA. And I said, well, I'm not. They go, yeah, but that's what you'd say if you were too. They go, I'm not going to win this argument with you. I swear I'm not in the CIA.
Yeah.
But it's interesting to talk to CIA people. I've got one that's been in the CIA for probably 40 years.
Oh, wow.
So I asked him about Kennedy assassination, and he won't tell the truth on any of that.
What does he say about it?
He said they had nothing to do with it. I'm like, are you kidding? Everybody knows the CIA killed Kennedy. He's like, no, even RFK now is saying that.
Yeah.
They're like, no, that's not. I've got proof that we didn't do it. But he never presents it. He just swears they didn't.
Yeah.
So I'll give him the benefit of the doubt.
Do you think Marilyn Monroe was... I think she was murdered.
I used to, and then I watched, there's a new documentary out about her.
Yeah.
And I can't remember if it's on Netflix or Prime, but it goes through her last hours, and I've decided that she died of a drug overdose.
Well,
and that the Kennedys didn't kill her.
I still think the Kennedys had something to do
Well,
with it.
the trouble was she was sleeping with both Bobby and John.
Yeah.
And they both knew about each other. And,
Yeah.
And she'd been with Bobby the day she died, and there'd been an argument of some sort. And there's a whole lot of suspicion about what happened. But at the end of the day, those kind of conspiracies are a little hard to pull off.
Yeah.
And to keep secret this long. Although, a lot of the Kennedy documents are still secret.
Right.
Trump vowed he was going to release them and then didn't.
Right.
And people said that worked for Trump said what happened is he looked at some of them and said, yeah, I can't release that information.
Wow.
And so I think if Trump gets elected, I think Bobby Kennedy.
Erickson's presentation in 5 minutes. So if you want to grab some goodies out there or have a quick restroom break before we start, now's a good time. Thank you.
Keep continuing.
Yeah, I think if Trump is reelected and Bobby Kennedy gets in charge, we'll get it all.
Okay.
Because he said the same thing about his dad, that his dad was killed by the Secret Service.
Oh, wow.
And it was a CIA conspiracy. So I don't know. I don't really trust conspiracy theories much, but it'll be interesting to see.
Yeah.
So, but that's just an aside. That they were like, oh, your friend, he's not a lawyer. He works for the CIA. No, I really don't.
What other companies have you worked for?
I worked with Walk Through the Bible for a while.
The what?
Walk Through the Bible. It was a company that trains churches on what the books of the Bible are about, and they go through the books of the Bible in a 4-hour seminar.
Yeah.
That give you the highlight of what the books are about to kind of familiarize people with the Bible.
Oh, wow.
And then I headed up an international human rights group and did international human rights law in Europe, representing street preachers and churches.
Oh, wow.
In Western Europe mostly.
Yeah.
And now I work for the Child and Parental Rights Campaign. But also
The what?
Child and Parental Rights Campaign.
Oh, I thought you said China.
No, not China. Not working in China. I've been to China once. It was a nice place.
What, did you go to Beijing?
Yeah, I did.
Oh,
I went on an education trip.
Oh, nice.
Kind of saw the whole country.
My brother went to Taiwan on his mission.
Okay, well, I was in Shanghai, a couple other cities on the way to Beijing.
Oh, nice.
Beijing was just nasty with pollution and smog.
yeah.
You couldn't see
Ni hao
half
ma?
a block.
Ni hao?
No, I don't. I don't ni hao nothing. And then I run an organization now that fights against sex trafficking.
Oh, good. What's the name of
It's called One Voice International.
One Voice International?
Yeah, and we've got a curriculum that we're putting out in the public schools. It's being piloted in Texas. We're talking to a bunch of other states about utilizing the curriculum there.
Wow.
And that's just part of our campaign.
Wow. You sound very well-rounded and trying to help, end child trafficking and...
I've been blessed. I've been able to, as a professional, my entire adult life, basically, to work on things that I was passionate about.
Yeah.
And most people don't get that. I talked to a lawyer one time about joining his law firm, and he said, Joel, you don't want to do it because I don't get any satisfaction from my job. I have to find my satisfaction elsewhere. But every day you're doing things that you feel like are changing the world.
Yeah, you sound like you're changing the world.
That's just kind of my motivation. It's part of what drives me,
you.
and I've been blessed. I mean, the Lord's brought all this up. I couldn't have figured out how to do any of this by myself.
Right. No, that's cool.
So I'm blessed.
No, that's awesome. Thank you so much for letting me interview you.
I'm glad to be an interview.
You were great. This was
Well,
fun.
thanks. This has been good. It's nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too. All right.